Good afternoon. Welcome to the Porch broadcast. Well, we kind of dragging our feet today. We should have had this porch talk done this morning, but I just had a lot of work to do this morning and I wanted to get it done and just kind of went in and put on my PJs. So what you see is what you get. But thought I'd go ahead and do a broadcast this afternoon. It's late afternoon for sure, and talk about a subject that I've kind of had on my mind for the past few days, and that's uh, being a person of reason or being a person that is unreasonable, and talk about the unreasonable part of it more than anything else because people deal with unreasonable people all the time. More often than we should have to, but we do. That's just the world we live in today. So let's talk a little bit about what reason is. And if you think about reason, reason is the information that we base our beliefs on. In other words, if I can put it in a little different way, we decide that something that we think is true because of the reasoning that we have applied to it. And we're going to talk about that a little bit, but we're going to find out that there are people that don't tie reasoning to their actions or what they believe to be true. And we're going to see how that works. And maybe knowing how this works will help you navigate the conversations you have with people sometimes. If you're dealing with a person that's unreasonable, navigating a conversation with them can be very difficult at times and very frustrating. So let's see if we can shed a little light on this subject and maybe come up with something that'll help us all to be able to talk to people that are unreasonable, or at least manage our interactions with those people better. Okay, so I'll tell you a story. I run into an individual some years back, not too many, but some years back, and they had developed a certain opinion or belief system toward something in life. Now, I'm going to be a little vague here because the person that I'm going to be talking about, I would rather not embarrass them or belittle them or discourage them in any way, but I want to tell this story because I believe that it will help us understand this subject better than we might otherwise. So I'm going to go into this story trying to conceal as much of the identity of this individual as I can, and even of the conversation, because you don't need to know all that. But anyway, this person had decided a certain thing in life was a certain way. And his opinion on that was pretty immoral. Back to the point that when we got into this subject, the things that this individual said shocked me. It really did. I just couldn't understand how anybody could come to the conclusion that this individual came to on this particular subject. But they were so adamant, I knew that this was going to be a difficult thing to have a conversation about with this person. Now, there's a whole lot of wisdom in having a conversation like this, and it is never cut and dried, and there's not always just a set of rules. If you go by, this will turn out perfect. Sometimes in the very best you do, it don't turn out good. But anyway, when this person expressed this opinion, I asked them a question, and I won't say what the question is. Again, I'm trying to keep the identity of this person under wraps, okay? And when I asked them a single question, and that single question, if they could answer that, it would have blown their belief system or their opinion about this subject completely out of the water. It would have totally destroyed it. this was a learning experience. So I asked this person a question, and they looked at me. They wouldn't answer the question. And I could tell it made them pretty angry because they knew if they answered the question that what they had just said prior to that was going to be kind of embarrassing for them. And I wasn't doing it to embarrass anybody. When I know something is right, I just go ahead and stand by that, irregardless. I'm not there to start a fight or even, for the most part, to have a debate, because debates don't go very well. Sometimes you can have one and people will glean from it. Normally, the people on the outside listening to the debate glean more from it. But anyway, you as a person and them, debates get so heated that they don't usually accomplish much for the people that are participating in it. Okay, so anyway, I asked the question. This individual couldn't answer the question, but they did do this. They told me the story of something that happened in their life that caused them to think this way. Now, this is when it's really a good time to listen, because you can understand why people think a certain way. Let me get a drink of water here. But you can understand why people think a certain way if you'll listen to them. Doesn't make what they're thinking right. It just, you can understand it. Well, this person told this story, and I could tell when they told the story that what they told me caused a lot of emotional damage to them. And so I began to understand why they had taken such a strong stand in the position they were taking. That didn't make it right. I just understood it more. I understood why they felt the way they did. And when they told that story, I thought, they're not building their perspective on good reasoning. They're building their perspective on an extreme emotion. And that's exactly what they'd done. They'd been emotionally damaged a great deal by this. And I understood they were hurt. But they still decided something was a certain way based on how they felt about it emotionally. Had absolutely no good reasoning behind that outside of emotion. So as we talked about that, I realized that I wasn't going to change their mind because the emotion behind their uh, perspective was just too strong. Now, here's the thing about emotions, guys, and emotions are good if you understand them and you keep them in proper balance. But when you make decisions or form belief systems on emotions, I'm going to just take a wild guess here, but I'm going to say 99% of the time they're probably not going to come out good for you. I've seen people make emotional decisions a lot in life, and some of the worst decisions people make are based on their emotional highs and lows. Anyway, for my benefit to understand, I'm not going to change this individual's mind because the emotional impact on their life, it was so great that they're just not going to change their mind about it. Now, I say that, and the old saying, never say never. So I don't think they'll ever change their mind, but I said enough to plant a seed that they could change their mind. Again, I sorted out they will. But long and short of it is this right here, is sometimes people are unreasonable, and you can't really spend a lot of time trying to reason with them. And when they start getting emotionally disturbed and heated when you're trying to reason, you might as well just shut up and go on and do something else. Now, this individual brought this subject up to me 2 more times after this. Uh, they they weren't interested in changing their mind. What they were interested in is forcing me to change mine. Well, it was a deep moral subject, and I just simply wasn't going to change my mind on that. If I told you what it was, you just shake your head and say, well, how could anybody believe what this individual believed? Uh, some people do. Very few, I think, but some people do. But here's what it's about more than anything. If you get somebody that's extremely emotional about a subject, they're most likely going to be unreasonable. And if people are going to be unreasonable, probably be better off just to walk away from that situation, let them think what they're going to think anyway. They're going to make decisions on that probably, and it's not going to come out good for them, but there's really not much you can do about it. You can get into some really heated debates and even arguments. I've even seen these conversations go physical with people that actually, one side would actually try to physically harm the other side because the emotional side of it was so great that they'll just go right back into that emotional mindset and start making decisions about you and their debate emotionally, and that can turn out to go to blows at times. And I've seen that happen. I've not let it happen to me, but I've seen that happen with other people. Don't let it go that far. If somebody's going to be unreasonable, walk away. Go on about your business. It's not your job to change the whole world. You can say something to a reasonable person and get them to thinking differently. Do that. You should. It helps the world we live in. But have the wisdom to know the difference. All right, guys, I've probably talked enough about this subject. I hope it's maybe helped somebody. If it has, hit that like button and maybe subscribe and share this video. It helps us in the YouTube algorithm, and we'd appreciate that. All right, we here at Porch love you. May God bless. Have a good day.